they just got dominated in this game. Point blank, dominated. I think it was the worst defensive performance we've seen from Syracuse basketball all season long. I don't think it's particularly close. Miami ate them up. Second chance points, disaster. Rebounding. I mean, what is rebounding? Miami was the better basketball team this afternoon. Do I think that on paper they are significantly more talented than Syracuse? No. They clearly have the head coaching advantage. That is abundantly clear. I think we all know that their head coach, who's in his first year, who was an assistant at Duke last year, Jay Lucas, is miles better than Adrian Autry, who is in year 3 at Syracuse. That is not a good look for Adrian Autry, as if he has many good looks at this point. First half of this game, what a great start for Syracuse, right? Just kidding, because Miami scored the first 9 points of the game. 9-0 Miami right off the bat. Before you can even sit on your couch to turn the game on, it was 9-0 Miami. Coming off back-to-back losses, just like Syracuse. And they're kind of teetering at this point on making or missing the tournament. I think before this game, they were a 10 seed going in. That's not a lock to make it. In the first half, the Miami Hurricanes shot 58% from the field. But the only reason why Syracuse was able to cut into that deficit and end up only being down 5 is because they had a mini spurt in the back half of the first half where they switched to zone defense and it was working. They forced about 4 turnovers in the span of about 3 to 4 minutes. And it was capped off with a Kyan Anthony dunk in transition off a turnover, which tied the game at 27 apiece. Here we go. Maybe Syracuse has a chance. And yeah, Miami, they did kind of start to separate themselves a little bit towards the end of the first half, but they committed a really dumb mistake where they had the chance for a last shot, end up turning the ball over. Shout out to Nate Kings for forcing the turnover. He gets the ball, and Miami in the penalty fouls him. They foul Nate Kings all the way back at his own 3-point line. So Nate Kings gets 2 free points. So Syracuse only down 41-36 at the break. Donnie Freeman, he's only got 4 points, so maybe he can heat up in the second half. You could rationalize that there was an avenue for Syracuse to win this basketball game. But then you see the graphic that the broadcast shows, which is that Miami is 11-1 this season, now 12-1 when leading at the end of the first half. And our brilliant basketball team, led by Red Auerbach himself, Adrian Autry, is now 0-5 when trailing at the end of the first half. Why do they have such a poor record when they're trailing at the end of the first half? Well, it's very, very simple. It's because their head coach doesn't know how to make any sort of halftime adjustments. What are those, right? In the second half, it was really back and forth between the two teams. They were going bucket for bucket. Syracuse's defense was pathetic, but Miami's defense wasn't very good either. Syracuse was able to get their looks. They were creating turnovers, creating some havoc. So even though the defense was bad, they were creating the turnovers. So they were getting pretty easy shots. But the turning point of this game happened with about 12 minutes left. Syracuse down by 4 points, 59-55. And they force a turnover. It's a 2-on-1. JJ Starling has the ball. He's speeding down the court. And he just gets a free dunk. He's going to put Syracuse within 2. It's going to be ferocious. Here we go. He missed the dunk. He missed the dunk. Oh, and then on the other end, Miami responds with a 3-pointer. So instead of being down 2, they're down 7. Miami goes on a 10-1 run after that missed dunk. The Orange Standard, ladies and gentlemen. At one point, I tweeted out, I think Syracuse was down 13 at LO_Syracuse. Look, if Syracuse comes back, I mean, hats off to them, but I don't think anyone expected that Syracuse was going to come back once they fell behind by double digits in the second half. It just wasn't going to happen. Also didn't help, and this is how we're going to lead into the next segment of this show, going over why it makes sense to fire Adrian Autry. Either the coach is so incompetent that he wasn't telling his team to foul with a minute to go, or he was telling his team to foul and his team was tuning him out. Let's be clear here. Syracuse is down 9 with about a minute to go. Are they going to come back? Most likely not. We can all acknowledge that down 9 with a minute to go, you're most likely not going to come back and tie or win the game. But we actually saw in the last game against Virginia Tech that Syracuse was in a very similar situation. They played the foul game. They forced a couple of turnovers with a full court press, and they had multiple chances to tie the game, one of which was a missed shot by Nate Kings. The other was a missed free throw where Syracuse couldn't box out and get a defensive rebound off a free throw, but they had chances to where they could have tied the game. And instead, either the coach is incompetent or the players were tuning him out. They did not foul. Eric Devendorf, who was on the call for this game, is screaming. What are they doing? Why aren't they fouling? It doesn't make sense. Why are you not fouling? You have to foul. Are you going to win this game? Most likely not. But you can't quit. You can't just give up. Again, do you remember what happened last game against Virginia Tech where everyone thought they were out and next thing you know they had a legitimate chance to tie the game? They could have stolen that one. I don't know if it really would have changed our opinion of the team in general. I don't know if it would make me feel much differently about Adrian Autry now than I did maybe then. I don't know. But you have to, at the bare minimum, and this goes back to one of the exhibition games where you have to care. You have to show some effort. You have to try. You have to want to be on the court and to compete till the very, very end. It's not like they were down 20 points and we're saying you need to foul. They were down 9 with a minute to go. You have to foul. If you foul and they miss a free throw, you can score quick and make it maybe a 6-point game. Now you might be cooking with something a little bit. Now you might have a shot. So, unbelievable. Unreal. Like, it's just another example of why they need to fire this head coach. By the way, Syracuse, for what it's worth, did not have a single lead in this game against Miami. Not one time did Syracuse have more points than Miami. They couldn't even have the basic 2-0 or 4-2 lead. Nope. Because Miami scored the first 9 points of the game.